Good evening, everyone, and welcome in. The Chris Prothro era begins soon. Coach Pro and EKU Baseball about to start the 2021 season. They'll get going here in just over a week down Friday, February 19th at Georgia Tech. It'll be a 3-game series on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on the ACC network through ESPN. That won't be their only ACC game to start the year. They'll also play a little closer to home on February 23rd, a Tuesday, when they travel up to Louisville. To talk about this season, we'll welcome in two of our players this evening. But first, we welcome in the head coach of the Colonels, Chris Prothro. Coach, a little unconventional timing getting in here this year. You come in the fall and a shortened off season, but an exciting time for EKU baseball as this program continues to evolve and grow.
Absolutely. That's something I've said several times, is that there really hasn't been anything conventional for any of our players or the coaching staff this year. And that's without even beginning to talk about a pandemic and its effects across the country, across the world, on campus, and all the things that go along with it. You know, our first team meeting was in October. Typically that's in August. We're introducing ourselves to each other, trying to get to know each other while we're in the middle of practice. And one thing has been consistent the entire time that I've been here is that the players here on campus have been committed to each day, making the most of each day that they have. They remember the feeling of what it was like last year in the spring to get the season shut down, especially when they were playing well at that time. And they have not wanted to take anything for granted, at least to this point. So it's been fun to work with these guys. It's an exciting time. Like I've said several times, all credit goes to Coach Thompson and the staff that he had put in place for putting these players in this program currently. There are things we need to get better at. There are things that both individually and as a team, as a coaching staff, we always need to improve. And there are things that we'll need to improve upon in the recruiting process that is natural to any program in the country. But they certainly did not miss, the coaching staff, Coach Thompson and the rest of the bunch, did not miss on the character, the work ethic, the makeup of this group. They've been fun to work with, and we've been excited to be here since day one.
Coach, tonight we're excited to have all of our Diamond Legacy Fund members with us, parents of the program, community members, and this is in place, unfortunately, due to the pandemic, of a first pitch dinner. So we're excited everyone could join us tonight, a chance to learn as much about the program as possible, which would have been your first of these type events. And Coach, when you came here to EKU, why was this the right fit for you in EKU?
Well, certainly it starts from a university standpoint. You know, before I say why I came here, I've got to talk about where I was. So I was at a great place, and that starts at the university level, at University of South Alabama. Academically, a very prestigious, very strong institution of higher learning. From an administrative standpoint, the athletics director there, Dr. Joel Urban, and his staff, and then the coaching staff that I work with, Coach Calvi, Mark Calvi is the head coach, Coach Bob Keller earlier in my time there, Brad Phillips, Alan Luck. I could go through all of them. It was a wonderful place. So it was going to take a wonderful place for me to leave South Alabama. And it starts with Matt Rohn. I didn't know Coach Rohn, as I affectionately call him. I didn't know him when he was at Nichols. We weren't there together at the same time, but I knew a lot of people who knew him and know him and spoke highly of him. And then when I came to campus and I came to Richmond and I met all the people, both in the administration, people like you, Robert, and other people throughout the run the gamut of the athletics department, I noticed that there was really the pieces and the foundation in place for a super successful athletic department, along with a very recruitable university, a very recruitable campus, and a very recruitable city in the city of Richmond. So all the pieces were in place, along with a successful program. It's not your typical first-time head coaching situation where something's gone terribly wrong, or it's a complete and total reset or a total rebuild. Like, you know, the season shut down last year. They were 12-2 and receiving votes at one point in the top 25 coaches poll. So, there's high expectations here. There's resources in place to meet and exceed those expectations, and there's good players here as well. So everything was exciting about Eastern Kentucky University, the baseball program, and that's why I'm fortunate enough. That's why I'm here, and I'm fortunate to be here.
When you look at this opportunity, was there anything that once you got here on campus was surprising or unexpected that was a big positive for you that you weren't expecting to see?
You know, everything was better than I expected. Part of that was I'd gotten to the point where I'm not a spring, as my wife would say, talking about one of our dogs. I'm not no spring chicken, right? I'm 38 years old. I'm not 28, and been doing this for about 17 years, and kind of had thought maybe the time had passed for my opportunity to be a head coach, which I think is natural, even if it's wrong. And so before I came up here, I think for my own sake, I had tempered my expectations. I didn't want to necessarily get my hopes too high. I didn't want to have too high of expectations just for fear of getting let down. Then I got here and everything was better than I expected. When I saw campus for the first time, better than I expected. When I met with, the first people I met with were Corey Neal, Mark Howard, and Kirk Moats, and then Rachel Sloan. They're all off the charts. Everybody was better than I expected. And it kind of has been the standard that has been set since I've been here. And that's with Corey Smoot and the guys that take care of our facilities. That's anyone that comes around and helps our guys take care of the DC and our indoor and everything that goes along with it. That it's just been, it's been great. And Mark came in here the other day. I told him the same thing I told him 5 months ago on day one is I keep waiting for somebody to shut the door, lock it so I can't get out, right? And say, hey, we fooled you, man. It ain't like this all the time. We just wanted to make sure you weren't going to leave. And I don't think that's happening at this point. Everybody's had their time to show me what they are and what they're made of. And I told Dusty Ridner, who's off the charts, I told him I'm not walking around on high alert because I feel like everybody's on the same page. So I couldn't be more grateful or excited. If there was something that I was complaining about, it'd be because I was looking for reasons to complain, not because it was really worth complaining about.
Coach, let's talk about this team and workouts so far. Give us a snapshot of where you feel you are heading into the opener with Georgia Tech.
Sure. I would say that we're as ready as we can be. The weather has been not to our liking. We've been outside as a group. Team practice started for everybody in Division I baseball. Team practice started on January 29th. And I think since January 29th, that's going on 10 or 11 days. Forgive me if I'm missing by a couple days. I think we've been outside 4 times. So we haven't been able to be outside as much as we like, but we are fortunate with the facilities that we have. That doesn't mean we haven't been able to get work in. So we've been able to get some work in. I think we see where we're maybe a little bit ahead of schedule. I think some of our at-bats with guys not having live at-bats since October and really, a live at-bat in competition since the spring. Our at-bats have been very good. Our pitchers have been, for the most part, very, very sharp. And we've kind of been in the right position at the right time on the field. So it's tough to find too much to complain about there as well. But I would say, we're lacking some reps to get ready. But, like we talk to the players about every day, that's not going to be used as an excuse. When we go to Georgia Tech in about 10 days, I'm going to go meet with Coach Hall, and we're going to take BP, and we're going to do all the things that go along with before the games get started. And the umpire's going to say play ball, and we're either going to win or we're going to lose. And at the end of those 27 outs, we're not going to use, cold weather as an excuse if that's why we end up being on the short end. So we're in good shape. I think the guys have done a really good job of taking care of themselves over the winter holiday. I was very pleased, and we've been very pleased with the shape that they came back in from a physical standpoint. And, they're working at it. So we're just kind of taking it day by day.
What was the on-field prep during the fall pretty normal, or were there a lot of changes in what you would normally do due to COVID?
No, they were, for me, I can only speak for myself. They were fairly normal. There were some things that from protocol standpoint, we weren't using the locker room. Guys were coming dressed and leaving dressed and, returning later to bring their laundry up for one of our equipment managers to do for them. So, there was some, that's not adversity. Shame on me for even beginning to make that statement. There was some stuff that we had to deal with from a COVID protocol standpoint that made it less than, I guess, normal, but it didn't make it less than ideal. Once we got out on the field, it was about as normal as you could expect. And the credit, I think, for that goes to Mark Howard and the rest of the administration for setting up a good standard of how you do things in relationship to the pandemic and what's going on campus. And then our players were making responsible decisions from when I got here, at least, to make sure that they had their teammates and each other's best interests in mind with the decisions they made. So for the most part, it was pretty normal. We were wearing masks when we needed a mask and socially distancing when we needed a social distance, but we had practice, we had scrimmages, and everything that goes along with a typical, team practice segment in the fall. So it was really good. I think we went my entire time, from when I got here on October 2nd to November 2nd, November 7th, the end of our team, we didn't have one person in quarantine, let alone test positive. So that was a credit to our players and the administration. And it was good to see from us being able to get things done at a normal pace, I guess is the best way to say it.
Coach, when a first-year head coach comes in, usually you inherit a lot of a schedule, but with the way things have evolved over the last few months, you probably had a little more control or at least a little more say in what was going on scheduling-wise. tell us a little bit about what your goals were in building part of the schedule and the slate together, and what really excites you about the games you've put together.
Sure. I got to go back to how you said at the beginning. Control would definitely not be the word, right? It's more we were reactionary for a lot of it. And Coach Thompson had put together a very good schedule on the front end, and then we had to make adjustments just like everyone else has had to do. So, the thought process, number one, was in responsibility to doing the best we can for our players here to make sure they got the most out of their experience, right? We have some seniors who right now are true seniors, that this is their last run at it. And then we've got some COVID seniors who had their quote unquote senior season cut short last year and have now returned. It was our responsibility and ultimately mine as the head coach being responsible for the schedule to play as many games as we could. So that has entailed maybe a more difficult schedule than you would typically see both at Eastern Kentucky and at the mid-major level, really, I would say. But our deal is this. Number one, we needed to play. Our Matt and the rest of the bunch have given us the resources we need to play. It's not unlimited, so I don't want Matt calling me after this and saying, you just said our budget's unlimited as far as travel is concerned. That's not the case. But they've given us what we need to be able to do things right from a travel standpoint and to play. And so that was number one. We had a responsibility to our players to play as many games as we could make happen. And number two, in the history of the Ohio Valley Conference, to the best of my knowledge, and Robert, you'll probably be able to correct me on the fly if I'm wrong, I think there's only been one at-large bid in the Ohio Valley Conference from a baseball standpoint. So really what we're trying to do is we want to win every game that we play. Louisville, Kentucky, Tennessee, Dayton, Moorhead in a non-conference game, Bellarmine, Western Kentucky. Like, this is going to get us ready. It may be too much, but we're rather err on the side of it being too much as opposed to not enough and not getting our guys ready. And I think Dan, you'll talk to Danny and Darren here in a second. They came here to play them all. They want to find out what they're made of against Jacksonville State, against Moorhead State, against Belmont and Kentucky and Louisville and Georgia Tech as well.
The state of Kentucky quietly becoming a very strong collegiate baseball state between the improvement that Kentucky programs made over the years and obviously the great success Louisville has had in recent years. Always some postseason games played in this area as part of that NCAA tournament. Coach, let's take a short break of looking at this team, and before we get to the young men who are joining us tonight, and let's talk about the Diamond Legacy Fund for a moment. And you talked about the resources that this program has been given, and our Diamond Legacy Fund members are probably some of the most loyal here at EKU. They give and are so committed to this program. And Coach, one of the things that we're working on right now as part of that initiative is to work on a new scoreboard. And I think we're coming closer to that. That's an important piece for you, continuing to look at some facility improvements. Just talk a little bit about how important that is to the success of this program.
Sure. So it's been critical. And this has been one of the surprises for me as well, pleasant surprise. There haven't been any bad ones just yet, except for maybe the schedule when I saw it for the first time, right? No, it was one of the pleasant surprises when I got here is the commitment, not only that Coach Thompson and the previous staff had put together as far as making an effort to reaching out, but really the surrounding community, alumni, all the people that care about this program, the commitment they had made from our foundation to, really help augment the budget that Matt and the rest of the people in the staff, they give us. So we have been able to do some things that sometimes won't show up on the field, but that are critical, number one, to winning and losing. And then number two, are critical to be able to enhance the student athlete experience for the student athletes that are here, strictly due to people being generous and giving. So it's been wonderful to see every time. I think you laugh because this is the truth. Every time you guys let me know someone donates, I immediately write a note and send it if I have address or contact information, because that's how important it is that it's really getting us to where we need to be from a competitive standpoint. Now, we need to do more, not only because we're moving, just to be as competitive as we can on a regional and national, in the regional and national landscape, right? We're moving to a new conference that will entail some new competition, different levels of competition. We're always going to be playing a strong non-conference slate, and we need to be competitive as we possibly can be from a recruiting standpoint. And that comes with facility upgrades and improvements. And, the EKU does a lot for us, but they're not going to do it all, nor should they. They've got other things in mind, and that's enhancing what's the true student experience on campus. So we'll take all the help they give us, but we're not going to stop at asking them for help. We need everyone's help to make it be as good as we can for the student athletes who are here, and then obviously giving ourselves the best opportunity to be competitive and recruiting new student athletes in the future, because whether we're in the ASUN, the Ohio Valley, or a conference that's on the moon, we're trying to win it. And to do that, you need good players, and you need good players you get those good players here by recruiting.
We have our first comment of the night, and it's someone talking about those unlimited resources.
I just saw it pop up. I knew I was going to get in trouble here.
But no question, the Diamond Legacy Fund, such an important piece. It is part of continuing to grow the program. We'll talk a little bit about the ASUN conference in a little bit and how important it is to be prepared for those moments. But we thank everybody for their commitment to EKU baseball through the Diamond Legacy Fund, and a couple of events coming up that are really important. In April, we'll have Alumni Weekend, and as part of that, we'll have a great golf outing out at here on campus, actually, out at Arlington. So I know we're excited about that, Coach. How important is it to have all those alums back on campus?
It's critical. They're the lifeblood of our program, the players who are here currently and the players that have come before them. It's fun to go in Coach Jones and Coach Wofford's office and see the history of what was here before we all got here, right? And one of the things, I made a comment this morning, and this is the truth. We were looking up on the wall, and there's a pretty good run of years where there was somebody drafted or signed to play professionally every year out of Eastern Kentucky University with the baseball program. So there is a tradition of excellence here. There's a responsibility of our players to be able to uphold that tradition of excellence and take that and run with it and make it better. And then after all that, it's great to have those guys back. These are people that are truly invested in your program. They really care. So you want them around. You want them to feel like it's still their program. And I talked to probably 4 or 5 former players when I got here, guys that a list that you had, helped provide, and Grant and the rest of the group that were like, hey, these are alumni that are still super involved. They really love the program. Reach out to these guys. Okay, no problem. And I did. And the first thing they said was, this Clint Seymour annual golf outing is like the most fun they have every year. They get to come back, go out, play some golf, hang around each other, tell stories. If they could get around a baseball game and watch us play while we did it, then great. But they really, really have enjoyed that part of it. And I said, well, as long as I'm here, we're going to do it. And that part of the deal is, sure, when we want to try and raise some money, everything we do is to try to make it better for us right now. But the commitment in that part of things, and you and I have had this conversation, is to make it as good as we can to honor Clint Seymour's memory, number one, and then to have the people that are there enjoy themselves. And I think putting that together with an alumni weekend when we're playing Jacksonville State, unless I'm missing something, is pretty much the gold standard as far as baseball is concerned in the Ohio Valley over the last 3 to 5 years. It should be good baseball. Hopefully we'll have a good crowd. Obviously COVID related, we'll have to follow some restrictions there, and then we can have, we'll play well, and then I'll be fun to be around when we're at the golf outing on Sunday.
As you know, Jacksonville State will be the opponent that weekend out in April, and we can't wait to have everybody back. And Coach, you spoke to it about a lot of this communication we've been having with alums, but if you are out there listening and are not on any of the lists we've been speaking with over the last few months, please reach out to myself or to Coach, and we'll be happy to make sure you're on that list because we want to communicate with you as well. Coach, we're going to take a break from you for just a couple moments, and we're going to start with Daniel Harris, and he's going to join us here. I think he's ready to roll. We'll unmute. How you doing, man? How we doing tonight?
I'm doing all right.
We're excited you're here. In all the early accolades this season, all the waiting, are you ready to just play baseball again?
Yeah, I'm just ready to play baseball. That's really it. I've been waiting for the 19th for a minute now.
What was it like last year when the season shut down and you put so much into preparing for a season that you don't even get to conference play, really?
It really just teaches you to cherish what you got while you have it. You can't take everything for granted because it can all go away in a second. And we were on a really good run, and the team was feeling good. We felt like we were going to keep the momentum rolling and maybe make something happen in the long run, but it got taken away from us that fast, which made us want it that much more this year. So we're definitely prepared for this year.
6 foot, 188 pounds junior, led the OVC and was 9th in the nation with a .460 batting average last season. Had a couple home runs, 16 RBIs, 16 runs scored, while posting a .680 slugging percentage and .541 on base percentage. You also had 5 stolen bases last year. pretty much did it all, and that's why those accolades have come in. Tell us a little bit about Coach Pro and his staff and how things have been a little different this year for you, and what really excites you about those guys so far as they've coached you up in the fall and spring so far.
I mean, they definitely just came in and tried to make it feel like family. You know what I'm saying? They just came in and didn't try to do too much. They didn't try to replace Coach T because, I mean, that's the guy who brought me here. So it's all love for him. But then Coach Pro just came in and just told me the real. And, I mean, we were pretty cool right now, and everything been going smooth. And this whole staff is really nice. And they all just want you to do the best that you can do. So.
See a question coming in from Jason on the comments. We'll get to that in just a moment with Coach, but I do want to bring Coach back in here to talk about Daniel a little bit. And Coach, what makes this guy so special?
Well, there's lots of things. You know, what he can do is he can really impact the game on both sides of the ball. He has an opportunity to be an impact defender. He could play shortstop for a lot of teams in the country, but he's I think humble enough and team-oriented enough to know that for this team, his best position is second base currently, and he has embraced that with open arms, and he can really be as impactful of a defender at the second base spot as anyone in the country, in my opinion. I haven't seen them all, but I'd have to see a bunch of them to see a bunch of them better. I promise you that, at least what he's capable of doing. And then you just went over all the numbers that he has from an offensive standpoint under his belt, that he has a chance to be super impactful in the middle of the order, both in our conference and then when we play somebody else, that he is someone that I guarantee you the other team has to account for when they're talking about us, when they're getting ready to play us. So the main thing for him to know about that, I think, and it's for all of our players, is to know that all that success that he's had and the team's game plan and all of that go along with it guarantees him nothing moving forward. And I think that's something you heard Danny talking about with taking advantage of each day. And that's what's been fun to see about Danny, is that he works at it. And so, people that do things right and that work at it and then also have the ability he has, it tends to work out for them more often than not in the long run. But baseball is really, really hard. So there'll be some tough times for Danny and the rest of us throughout the course of the season. And hopefully what he can do is fall back on some toughness and some work ethic that he has naturally that none of us gave him. And that'll help push him through because he's got a chance to be a really good player.
Daniel, we'll ask you one other question here, and then we'll ask you to wait around a couple minutes in case any of our fans have a question to share as well. But, this this opener on the road at Georgia Tech is going to be a little bit of a homecoming for you. Stone Mountain, Georgia native. How excited are you to head back home? I think you told me you played in the area once before since you got here to EKU.
Yeah, I'm so excited to go back home. And so, like, my family and everybody, they don't have to drive 6 hours to come and see me. It's right around the corner from everybody, 20 minutes away. So I just can't wait to play in front of them and show them how I've been. They haven't seen me in about 2 years now, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
I know everybody down there excited. Everybody up here in Richmond as well, excited to see you out on the field soon. Stick with us for a minute here, Daniel, and we're going to bring in Darren Williams to chat with us now. Darren, an in-state guy, a native from. Do you consider it Northern Kentucky? How do you term your hometown up there?
Northern Kentucky.
You start over there for me.
Yeah, Maysville. I consider it Northern Kentucky. About 45 minutes east of Cincinnati. So yeah, Northern Kentucky, right on the way.
Mason County, Kentucky, the Maysville area. And let's go back to last spring. We've talked about the success that was had, and it's a great foundation piece. But one of those big moments for you and this team was a 2-0 win over LSU last year, where you threw a scoreless inning in relief. Tell us about that win and how wins like that give this team confidence heading into this season after the shortened year last season.
Yeah, for sure. The Friday night game at LSU and winning that and winning it in the fashion that we did, where we threw a shutout, was really impressive. All 5 of the guys that threw that night are back on the staff, again this year. And we won a game my sophomore year, Friday night at Virginia. So this group has, been through those situations where we go to a Power 5 conference team on a weekend and we win ball games. So I feel like we can, knowing that we've done it before, we know that we can go down to Georgia Tech and win some ball games down there that weekend.
When you look at last season, what attitude really have you all brought from last year, that winning attitude of success into the fall and now into this season?
For sure. I think just the focus is, the intensity is still at a high level. We went into last year knowing that we were going to be really good. And our expectation last year was to win the Ohio Valley Conference. And having so many people back from that group, and especially a lot of the older guys on that group, and especially on the pitching staff side of it, we know that we can still play at an even higher level than that, an even higher level of focus and intensity. So, having that success last year and having so many guys come back this year to do it again will really help us.
24 appearances in 2019 for you, 3.40 ERA, 2-and-run record with 3 saves. What are you really looking forward to on the schedule this year? Anything sticking out or places you're excited to play at this year?
Definitely Georgia Tech, of course. I would say Morehead State going back. That's only 45 minutes away from Maysville, so I have a lot of buddies from high school that went to college there and always talk about the Morehead State. So really excited about that weekend for sure. And then, of course, you look towards, the big games, Jacksonville State, Belmont, SEMO is always a fun time. So for sure, Ohio Valley will be a lot of fun to play in this year.
I know there's a big tradition in basketball that way, one of the big gyms in the state, but tell us a little about your high school baseball career.
High school baseball career. We were not really a baseball school. I had a little bit of success. We won 3 district titles, but we really were a small town, and baseball was in the rearview mirror compared to basketball. Growing up for me, I didn't really start working out and focusing solely on baseball, 12 months of the year until college. So that was a big change for me, and I think the growth of myself in the last 5 years just shows a lot from that.
I know when you get outside of some of the bigger cities, the district title means so much to those communities. So no small feat there for sure. A big accomplishment for the Maysville community. Talk a little bit about this pitching staff this year and what excites you about the guys around you.
Yeah, I mean, this pitching staff really excites me, personally, seeing the growth we've made in the past 5 years that I've been here. Definitely the most talented, group we'll have everyone but one person returning from last year. We have a few guys coming off injury, Will Bryan coming back this year, Jackson Blair coming back this year, and you still have a lot of returners that threw a lot of innings last year on the 12-2 team. We got some studs on this pitching staff, and it's been evident all throughout the fall scrimmages and these preseason scrimmages we've had this week that, every time you're out there, it's really competitive, and you've got to bring your A game every single time because you've got 15 other guys, bringing theirs every single day. So we just push each other. It's a real close group, a real fun group to be around, and I'm excited to see what we're going to do over the next 4 months.
I want to bring Coach Pro back in here to talk about this pitching staff a little bit. Coach, what excites you about the guys you're going to throw on the mound?
Yeah, so that really is a way to jump in from what you said earlier. What were some pleasant surprises, and I've been consistent in saying that, is that there were great players across the board that the group had done a good job of recruiting and bringing in. But from a pitching side of things, I have been and was very impressed with what's here, and I think Dub is really touched on it. There's older guys with ability. There's younger guys that have some experience but can still get a little bit better. There's a good mix of both. And, you got guys like Dub, Darren, that, he came and sat in my office and told me he would do whatever he could do from a role standpoint to help the team win because he felt like we had some guys, some pieces, and some places that were going to put us in a position to be successful. So he's been a reliever here and a very good one. He has a lot of success under his belt, some stripes in this program. And he's going to go on the weekend in the rotation for us this year, and he's going to help us win doing so. And it's been consistent, like I said, across the board with each one of our guys on the pitching staff. Whatever role you think, Coach, I got a plan in place to get better and to help this team win. And Darren's right. We have done a good job for the most part in our preseason, fall, all of it, the scrimmages and practices. Our pitchers have it on their mind to be good at it, and they have worked with that in mind to be really great once the season comes along.
We bring Daniel back in here too. Coach, when you got a guy like Darren last year who was able to or a whole staff really that's able to go into LSU and get a win, what do those experience? How important is that as you get to go on the field this year with those guys?
Well, it's critical. we've talked about it in practice that, in game situations, it can really speed up on you if you're not as prepared as you can be or should be. And then it especially can speed up on you if you're playing in front of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 people. And so for guys to have been able to be in that environment, to play in a close game, playing in that environment's not too much for them. And ultimately, that's where they want to get back to. So, they've been in a regional experience. Trust me, if you're in Alex Box Stadium on a Friday night, it's not going to get any bigger or louder or more intense than that in any regional that you play across the country. Maybe at Mississippi State because there's more people there, and that's the only reason why. So these guys should have some confidence knowing that it doesn't matter that it was LSU, but that they've been in that environment, been able to push through some tough times. Because trust me, if you're playing a 2-0 game and on Friday night at Alex Box, you had to make some plays. You had some bounces not go your way, and you had to respond anyway. And they've been able to do that, so they should be able to lean back on that and take some confidence knowing that there's no environment or stage that's too big to them. But I'll say it to you, just like I said it to them today at practice, is that the fact that they've done that guarantees them nothing moving forward. And so we're not going to go into Georgia Tech and we don't get spotted 3 runs on Friday on February 19th because we beat LSU a year ago. They don't care at all one bit. As a matter of fact, they'll be more ready for us than they probably would have been because of it. So, there's some responsibility that comes along with that these guys better be ready for. And I do believe that when the time comes, that they will be. I don't think they're ready right now, but it's February 8th. They don't have to be. We've got 11 days to get them ready for that. And when they are ready for that, and I mean from a mental standpoint, from a mindset standpoint, I think we've got, and you've met 2 of them tonight, we've got enough players that can help us win in those environments again.
I know our fans are excited to come out and see these guys this year. And Darren, Daniel, we appreciate you joining us tonight. Coach is going to stick with us for a few more minutes, but we'll see you guys soon in 11 days or so down at Georgia Tech, and then back here in Richmond real soon to get on the field right out here. So thanks, guys, for joining us, and we'll see you two real soon. And Coach, let's talk about the ASUN Conference. It's an exciting time. What's ahead? Obviously, the OVC is priority number 1 this year, but I'm going to pull the map up here, and it elevates baseball without question moving forward. Anytime you get down to the state of Florida, there'll be 4 opponents in that state. Tell me a little bit about this league and what challenges await you come the 2022 season.
Sure. So, moving to this league kind of puts us back in the footprint from a regional standpoint, recruiting base and, competition wise of where I was before, down in Alabama in the southeastern part of the United States, which typically when you look at the end of the season every year, if you look at the groupings of regional host sites, they tend to be all grouped in the southeastern part of the state. So that tells you that there's good baseball being played in the southeast. So there's challenges that come along with that. If we're not the northernmost member of the conference, we're pretty dang close. So there's challenges that come along with that, right? But they're not going to be used as excuses or anything like that for reasons that we're not as competitive as we need to be. We just need to know that going in and be ready to make a commitment from an athletic department standpoint. And Matt has said that was coming. And then from a coaching staff standpoint, of figuring out what we need to do to be competitive. But I promise you, the Stetsons and the Liberties and the Jacksonvilles and the Florida Gulf Coast, the North Florida and Lipscomb, and I'm going to miss somebody. But all of those programs, I've been around them. I either know the coaches there personally and have recruited against them personally, or know Kennesaw State, or know them reputationally. And every single one of those programs that's up on the screen right now is trying to be good at baseball. They are, Bellarmine included, right here in our own state. And so we better get our, big boy pants on and be ready to compete. But that's why you do this. We wouldn't want it any other way, I don't think. And I think that's one of the things that Matt had talked about in the press conference to announce the move, is that this was a creative way that he foresaw, him and Dr. McFadden, our president, saw to expand the footprint of our university, to expand the footprint of our athletics department, to get more in touch with the alumni base from the university as a whole and the athletic department and specifics, and to really get us out there and try to put our name on it, put EKU on the map from a national standpoint. And if that's not what you want, I don't know why you'd be in this business. We're not trying to be as good as we can be and try to be in front of as many people as we can and try to give ourselves the best opportunity to play in the postseason every year, then we're all wasting our time as far as I'm concerned. And the ASUN, this move, at least I can speak to the baseball side of things, that will give us an opportunity to do that.
It's going to be a unique season. When we look at the number of fans in the stadium, but associating with youth programs is so important. That's where Jason's question that came in a little bit ago I wanted to address. But long term, once we get past some of the COVID restrictions and stuff, you see the question there on the screen, the vision you have for interaction with youth baseball programs in Richmond and the Berea area, both very important regions to all of us here at EKU Athletics.
Sure, yeah. So, I think this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. You're looking for a time as we get closer and return to normal, where the cases across the country go down, where we have a good vaccination rate across the country, and we can get out and be a little bit more interactive with the surrounding community. That yes, we should absolutely and will absolutely make an emphasis on getting out into the surrounding community, doing some satellite camps, being involved, being very visible at local Little League, youth complexes as far as that is concerned. And then obviously we'll want to have camps for the youth level or age level groups here on campus. So I am looking forward to that and looking forward to some help from Jason and the rest of the people that are still, that are attached to the university from being an alumni. Jason being a really good player here. And then he's been here longer than I have. Hopefully he has some contacts that he can help us with to be able to get ourselves out in front of the right people and to make sure that they know, number one, that we're as invested in the community that we hope will be invested in us when it comes to watching us play. So we have to be visible. We will be visible, and we're looking forward to that as that time comes.
Coach, recruiting's been a unique situation. You have not been able to have a prospective student athlete on campus since you arrived. But I know you've learned how great the Lexington community is for baseball, has produced some great high school prospects over the last few years and over the last 2 decades specifically that I'm very knowledgeable about, but a great history in this area. Just talk a little bit about how recruiting's gone, how important recruiting this area is to you, and throughout the South.
Sure. So I was familiar, believe it or not, we recruited a couple of Lexington area kids when I was at South Alabama. We were able, fortunately, both at the high school level and then obviously at the travel ball level, that there is very high level of competitive baseball played in the state. One of the things that was so unique to me is the way it was explained to me in that recruiting process is that the state of Kentucky, from a baseball standpoint, has a true state championship. Like there is one state champion for each classification. There's no, there's no 16 different offshoots like there were in the state of Louisiana where I was, or anything like that. You win the state championship in Kentucky, you're good. Your team is good. Your team is a championship level team. So that's great. We have to be visible once we can be in the state of Kentucky. I'm not going to give you the cliche of we're going to put a fence around Kentucky or we're going to put a fence around Madison County because you don't want to hear it. What you'll hear through word of mouth that one of our coaches is at just about every game that's worth seeing in our surrounding area and our state moving forward once recruiting opens back up, because we're going to work at it and we're going to do what's necessary within reason. And this will help. Matt and Kirk will be happy about this, within the rules as well, to be as aggressive and successful as we can from a recruiting standpoint, because recruiting never stops. And it is the most important thing that we do. It's all about who's here right now, which they were recruited here, and who's going to be here in the future, which is the group that you're currently recruiting. So it's the most important thing we do. It sets the culture of the program. It sets the talent level of the program. It sets the foundation and gives you a chance to go through some player development things to give you a chance to win. From a COVID standpoint, yes, it's been difficult. The NCAA's put some things in place that have made it, really harder on the student athlete really than the coaches, but have made us be a little bit more creative. And coaches across, when I say us, I mean coaches across the country. We're no different than anyone else. You have to be more creative. You have to lean more on your network. You have to lean more on what you hope is a good ability to evaluate film and video instead of being in person. And you're working with relationships and trust with some people. And so what we've tried to do is, one, we try to recruit players that have had success. Obviously, they do something on film or video that looks like their tools would translate to being successful at the college level, but also have had some success currently where they are. And then we try to recruit players that have been in winning programs. And so you'll see the junior college players that we've recruited, been successful to recruit, come from winning programs with championship pedigrees, and there were people that we know and trust that, if you tell me a pitcher's 88 miles an hour, we know he's going to be at least 88. Or if you tell me he's going to be the hardest worker that we've ever had in our program, we know he's not going to be lazy. And so that's been really key for us, is we've got some guys on staff, myself including, but especially talking about Coach Jones, that have experience and a network to be able to lean on some people in a less than ideal recruiting time.
I want to continue on recruiting a second here, but two things we want to bring up. A great crowd joining us, and we appreciate everyone's support tonight. Tonight's webcast here, somewhat of a replacement for the annual First Pitch Dinner. We encourage you to donate to the Diamond Legacy Fund to support EKU Baseball. That link is also in the comments section. We also had one other question come in, and over the next few minutes, if anyone else has any other questions, please put those in the comments section. We'll be excited to answer those. Patricia Davis Scott is asking about Georgia Tech tickets, and we don't have that complete information yet. Hope to have some of that soon, and we'll make sure to have that included in some of our correspondence that go out through EKUsports.com. Additionally, we're finalizing some stuff with our season ticket holders here at EKU for the home games, and hope to, if there are any available tickets after that process is complete, to make those available to the public as well. Very tight number of tickets available this year due to the importance of social distancing right now. But we'll, as always, provide great coverage through EKUsports.com. Kevin Britton, the SID for EKU Baseball, along with the great stuff going on with our ESPN Plus productions. And I know some other avenues being looked at as well right now to make sure we get all those games to the public and make sure everybody can see those things. One other question about recruiting, and I've seen Coach out on the golf carts and stuff, showing people campus that can't get here right now. But right now, what are the points right now that a young man says, I need to be at EKU? What is that young man saying about EKU?
Yeah, so every single one of them has had the same response. It's kind of funny. What they do is, and they have had, before I moved to that, they've had the same response that I had the first time I came. And I'll tell you how it goes. Is Coach Jones, Coach Wofford, I've done it before. I actually ran into a fence in our gate or taking someone around campus. So no damage was done, thank goodness, but it was not a lot of fun for about that 30 seconds when we jarred a little bit on the visit. But all these visits start pretty much in the middle of campus. They take them around, show them the football stadium, they show them the residence halls, take them through campus, and they end up at the baseball facility. This is a virtual Zoom or FaceTime visit that's within the rules, obviously, of being able to do that. And they all end up in my office. Sometimes I'm here, sometimes I'm not, because other things are going on at different times. But when I am here, we end up spending some time talking. And every one of them says the same thing. Coach, it is way better than I expected. Coach, it is really nice. Our campus is impressive. It is. I'll speak for myself and the people we've recruited. Our campus is impressive to me and the people that we recruited, and I can't think that we're alone in our feelings with that. The administration, Dr. McFadden, all the people that go along with that have made a commitment, and it shows, to making this one of the premier institutions of higher learning in the state of Kentucky and in our region, if not the nation. Our residence halls, you could drop our residence halls in Malibu, California, and it wouldn't stick out. I promise you it wouldn't, unless you were just saying how nice it is. The rec center, the cafeteria, the quad area right there where both of those are located, the buildings, whether it's the sciences building, everything that you go through on campus, it looks like it's brand new. It all matches. It looks good, unless it's something that looks like it's been there for a long time and it's got some history attached to it, and there's a conversation point there to talk about. So it's easy to sell a university and a campus that looks like this. It's easy to be able to say that the academics here are of the highest, are highly prestigious, and that you're going to get a wonderful degree here. That's number one. And then our facilities here from a baseball side of things, and really across the athletic department, are very recruitable. Am I always going to be asking for more and better and bigger? Sure, that's my job to ask for it. It's Matt's job to tell me to slow down and just pump the brakes a little bit, and we'll do what we can when we can. And he's as aggressive, I promise you, as I am. But we have super recruitable facilities. They'll continue to get better. And so we have a lot of things to sell. And that's why we've been able to, in a less than ideal and a very unusual or unique time of recruiting, been able to secure some commitments that I would think, I won't speak for them, but I would think there were people that we compete against that have had their eyes raised a little bit about the type of player that we've been able to commit and are going to bring into our program moving forward.
And Coach, we talk about those facilities, and some things are on the table right now or in discussions to continue to improve those facilities. And, there's some things within the building, the baseball building, that you want to continue to improve on and provide a great experience for our young men as part of the baseball program. But that starts with the Diamond Legacy Fund. And again, normally a first pitch dinner tonight. So we appreciate anyone able to support us. We'd love to have discussions with you, how we can match your passions as part of the Colonel Club and the Diamond Legacy Fund. So feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to talk to you about that. Coach, a week or so out, ready to go for your first game as a head coach. What's kind of going through your mind as you get ready to take the field in this new position?
I think the mark of this is me as being an assistant for 17 years, is you pay attention to the coaches that you've either played for or worked with or worked for that have been successful. And I've been fortunate over the course of my career, both as a player and as a coach, that most, if not all, of those coaches that I've been around have been highly successful, and they've been very similar in their approach. And their approach is, for the most part, not to mess it up. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make sure there's a plan and a culture in place that we are as prepared as we could possibly be, so that if something happens in a game on Georgia Tech, whether we executed it or not, that we practice it, that we've given our players the opportunity to be successful. And then we either will or we won't. And sometimes we'll have practiced every situation that comes in a game, every opportunity that arises we'll be prepared for, and it still won't go our way because baseball is really, really, really hard. And so what we want to do is just make sure over the next 11 days, whether we're outside for 11 days or inside for 11 days, that our guys are as prepared as they possibly can be. And then we'll take our chances. So that's the main thing for me, is to make sure we're trying not to miss anything right now. We're trying to make sure we're as prepared as we possibly can be. And people that have been doing this for a much longer time than I have will tell you that, sometimes you show up to the ballpark and you see something for the first time, no matter how long you've been doing it. So you can't really be prepared for every eventuality, but you can do the best you can to try to be. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yes, you never know what you're going to see. We were talking earlier today about a 22-inning game we were part of. It is earlier today, EKU volleyball with a 5-win set over UT Martin. It was a good day across EKU Athletics. That volleyball win today in McBrayer Arena. The men's basketball team on the road to SIU Edwardsville with a win today. I know we'll be excited to get everybody back in all our facilities in the coming weeks. And
basketball, that's like the first time in 10 years that they've won there or something like that?
11, the last time a victory in Edwardsville.
Especially after a couple of tough losses. That's a big deal.
Yeah, so exciting rebound win for them. And Coach, Georgia Tech on the horizon. Should be an interesting opener for this team.
Yeah, we'll get everything we want, I promise you, out of that. And they'll be ready. They're super well coached. That you can use it as a cliche, but it's probably true. Coach Hall has forgotten more about baseball than I'll probably ever know. He's won a bunch of games, coached a lot of big leaguers, names that these guys know. They've played on TV for a long time. So we'll get all we want out of Georgia. They'll get some of us too. I promise you that.
We appreciate all three of these guys joining us tonight to talk a little EKU baseball. Big season on the horizon after the shortened year last year. I know these guys are excited to get back out on the field. Daniel Harris, Darren Williams, and the new head coach, Chris Prothro, joining us tonight in replacement of our first pitch dinner. Thanks so much to all of you for joining us, Coach, our players. We're so excited about what's to come on the diamond this year for EKU baseball. One last time, I want to remind you the opportunity to contribute to EKU baseball through the Diamond Legacy Fund is out there for you. So much support already in place through EKU Athletics for the young men that make up this baseball program. I know such an important part of EKU Athletics, and your support is so greatly appreciated. Feel free to reach out to us here in the Colonel Club staff. We'd be happy to talk to you about how we can help meet your passions across EKU, such loyal fan base for this baseball program. So thanks everyone for joining us tonight. We'll continue to have coverage of EKU baseball throughout the season, EKU sports.com and much more to get all the coverage on the Colonels. Good night, everybody.